Welcome to our exploration. You know how artificial intelligence, AI, it just seems to be everywhere these days, like recommending your next TV show or answering questions online.
Absolutely. It's hard to miss.
Well, imagine that same kind of intelligence stepping right into the halls of government, influencing policy, public service. I mean, it really sounds like something straight out of a futuristic novel, doesn't it?
It does. But the thing is, it's happening now.
Exactly. So today we're going to take a closer look at this topic that's, well, it's quickly becoming pretty central to how things are run, the integration of AI into actual government operations.
Yeah.
We'll be looking at how different countries are embracing it, the really fascinating and sometimes, frankly, startling ways it's being used. And crucially, the really important questions we all need to ask about, trustworthiness and what it means for society.
And what's truly striking, I think, is just the speed of it all. How quickly these changes are moving from, say, theoretical chats into actual concrete national strategies.
Right. It's not just talk anymore.
Not at all. Our sources are showing a landscape where governments aren't just thinking about AI. They're actively putting it to work in ways that could fundamentally reshape how public services are delivered, how governance itself works. It's a really rapid evolution, much faster than many people probably predicted.
So our mission today is to unpack this really complex, incredibly important development. We're drawing on insights from a whole collection of fascinating articles and reports.
Yeah, some really interesting stuff out there.
We'll explore the big visions driving this shift, uncover some pretty surprising real-world applications, and importantly, shine a light on the unseen challenges that come when you let algorithms help run nations. So let's begin this journey to understand a future that, honestly, in many ways, is already here.
The grand vision AI's transformative promise in government.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. It really seems like governments worldwide are genuinely excited about AI. They see it as a key to a more efficient, maybe more effective public sector, right? What's actually driving this global enthusiasm?
Indeed. I think what's profoundly appealing here, the underlying belief, is that AI offers this allure of, well, unprecedented efficiency and objectivity.
Objectivity, interesting.
Yeah, enhancing decision-making, dramatically improving public services. I mean, governments, just by their nature, deal with colossal amounts of data, right? They navigate these intricate bureaucratic processes, and they have this constant, often overwhelming need to deliver services to millions of people.
Absolutely. The scale is immense.
And AI promises to tackle these monumental challenges head-on. So just imagine a system that could sift through, say, decades of policy documents in seconds, or manage public finances with an eye for detail that, frankly, no human could possibly match.
So it's way beyond just like automating boring tasks. We're talking about getting fundamentally better, maybe more consistent outcomes across the whole range of what government does.
Precisely. The perceived benefits, they span this incredibly wide range of governmental functions. It touches almost every aspect of public life.
Like what, for example?
Well, we're talking about things like predictive policing, maybe, where AI analyzes huge crime data sets to forecast areas that might need more attention, potentially preventing incidents before they even happen.
Okay. That one raises questions too, but okay.
Sure, definitely. Or automated welfare systems.
Yeah.
Systems that could process applications faster, ensure maybe greater consistency, potentially reduce fraud, getting help to those who need it more quickly.
That sounds undeniably good.
It extends to really complex areas too, like policy analysis, where AI can sift through just reams of information to help policymakers understand the potential impacts of, say, proposed legislation on different groups or economic sectors.
So modeling outcomes better?
Kind of, yeah. And crucially, even national security assessments. AI identifying patterns and threats that might just be invisible to human analysts working alone. So the overarching vision really is to make government work smarter, faster, and ideally fairer for everyone.
Now, here's where it gets, really interesting for me. Some countries are pushing this beyond just AI assistance. They're actually putting this tech into roles that sound, almost like science fiction. AI as an active, named participant in governing.
This is where we see some nations not just using AI as a tool, but fundamentally reimagining the very structure of their government around it. It speaks to this profound trust, almost, in AI's capacity for impartiality and efficiency, taking it to a level that really challenges our traditional ideas of public administration.
Okay, let's start with a really groundbreaking example, Albania. They've literally appointed Diella, the world's first AI-made minister, and her name, Diella, I read it means sunshine in Albanian,
That's right.
which tells you something about the hope and transparency they're pinning on her. This isn't just some quirky title, is it?
Not at all. What's really fascinating here is how Albania isn't just using AI behind the scenes, they're integrating it as an actual named entity within their government structure. It reflects this, well, profound, almost aspirational trust in AI's ability to be impartial.
So how did this come about? Was it sudden?
Well, Prime Minister Edi Rama has sort of mused about a digital minister, maybe even an AI prime minister, over the summer. But I don't think many expected it to happen quite so quickly.
Right.
And now, Diella exists as the only non-human member of the government. Physically absent, of course, but virtually created by artificial intelligence.
So what's her job? What exactly is Diella's portfolio? What kind of weighty responsibilities does a virtual minister get?
Her main responsibility is all public procurement.
Wow, okay. That's a big one.
It is. The Prime Minister explicitly said that decisions on tenders would be taken out of the ministries and placed squarely in Diella's hands. The goal, and it's ambitious, almost audacious, is for Albania to become a country where public tenders are, and this is a quote, 100% incorruptible, and where every public fund that goes through the tender procedure is 100% legible.
100% incorruptible. That's a statement.
It is. And this isn't just theory for them. Diella already powers their e-Albania platform, which gives citizens digital access to pretty much all government services. She even has a visual avatar appearing as a young woman in traditional Albanian clothing, designed, presumably, to make her seem more relatable, more trustworthy.
That's absolutely incredible. A virtual minister whose job is basically to eradicate corruption, which, let's be honest, has been a huge, long-standing issue for Albania, especially in public administration and procurement.
Exactly. The EU has highlighted it repeatedly in rule of law reports.
So Diella's mission is a direct attack on a critical national problem, but can an algorithm really understand the human dynamics, the political complexities that fuel corruption? Or is there a risk it just creates new, maybe unforeseen loopholes?
Well, that's the core question, isn't it? The underlying goal, as the Prime Minister framed it, is to combat that long-standing corruption and to break down, quote, the fear of prejudice and rigidity of the administration.
So remove the human element to remove the bias and temptation.
That seems to be the hope. That an AI, devoid of human biases, personal connections, the temptation for graft, can just enforce rules strictly transparently. It's a very bold move, aiming for this unprecedented level of transparency and fairness in a critical government function that's historically been, well, opaque and vulnerable. It represents a belief that maybe removing the human element from certain high-stakes decisions might paradoxically make them more just.
And Albania isn't alone in pushing these boundaries. The United Arab Emirates, the UAE, they're taking an equally ambitious, maybe even more foundational approach, not just implementing AI, but using it to actually create and shape legislation, laws themselves.
Indeed. If you think about the broader picture of the UAE's ambition, it really goes far beyond just assisting human lawmakers.
Yeah.
The aim seems to be for AI to function as a sort of co-legislator, actively anticipating, even proposing future legal changes. This is a very bold and, frankly, pretty unprecedented move on the global stage. The UAE plans to use AI to actively write, review, and amend existing national laws. It's a unique approach worldwide, and you can bet AI researchers are watching very closely to see how this could fundamentally redefine the whole legislative process.
So just to be clear, we're not just talking about AI summarizing existing laws for humans to review. We're talking about an AI literally suggestive entirely new laws or proposing complex changes to current ones. That's a massive shift in how laws get made. How does the system even start to grapple with the intent behind laws, which, often comes from human values, societal needs, political compromise?
That is precisely the core challenge and also the most intriguing part of their vision. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Dubai ruler and UAE vice president, he stated that this, quote, new legislative system powered by artificial intelligence will change how we create laws, making the process faster and more precise.
Faster and more precise. Okay.
And to oversee this radical shift, they've actually created a dedicated cabinet unit. It's called the Regulatory Intelligence Office. And the government expects AI to speed up the entire lawmaking process by, get this, 70%.
70% faster. That's just astonishing. But how would that even work in practice? And what kind of data would an AI need to do that responsibly? You can't just feed it random internet stuff for lawmaking, surely.
No, definitely not. The plan involves AI creating this massive comprehensive database. Federal laws, local laws, court judgments, public sector data,
Yeah.
everything.
Right.
It would then track how these laws actually affect the population and the economy, analyze trends, and based on that immense analysis, it would regularly suggest updates to their legislation.
It's just updates.
Yeah. As Ronnie Medaglia, a professor at Copenhagen Business School, points out, this underlying ambition to basically turn AI into some sort of co-legislator is truly groundbreaking. The hope is the AI could spot gaps, inconsistencies, or areas where existing laws just aren't effective anymore, and then proactively generate proposals. It's a vision where the legal code becomes almost a living, constantly optimizing entity, rather than something humans update periodically based on consensus.
Okay, so beyond these really pioneering examples, AI ministers, AI co-legislators, we're also seeing more practical, maybe, but still incredibly impactful uses. AI making government services faster, easier, more reliable for regular people. This is where it hits home for everyday citizens, right?
Absolutely. And the applications are incredibly diverse. It really shows how AI is becoming this robust tool for public service and efficiency worldwide.
Yeah.
Let's look at Ukraine, for instance. They're leveraging AI to tackle very concrete day-to-day challenges in public administration, showing how cutting-edge tech can solve real-world bureaucratic headaches.
Yes. Ukraine's Ministry of Economy, Ecology, and Agriculture, they're digitizing their licensing process using Google's Gemma AI model. And this isn't just like a simple online form, is it? It's a pretty sophisticated system designed to tackle a really common bureaucratic pain point that citizens often face.
That's right. The challenge they faced was pretty significant. Manually reviewing permit applications took government officials hours.
I can imagine.
They had to meticulously read every document, cross-reference names, dates, IDs. It's a process highly prone to human error, inconsistency, even unconscious biases.
Sure.
And this led to costly mistakes, long delays, and understandably frustrated applicants who might wait days, sometimes weeks, just to find out their submission was incomplete or something. This
Yeah.
manual bottleneck was really undermining the ministry's efficiency, creating significant friction for citizens, for businesses.
And their solution had a very specific, and I imagine absolutely crucial legal and security constraint, right?
Yeah.
Especially given the context in Ukraine currently.
It did, and it's a critical detail. Ukrainian law requires all AI systems and public services to operate within a closed infrastructure. No external API calls, no cloud dependencies.
Okay, so everything stays in-house, essentially.
Exactly. It's a stringent security measure designed to maintain complete national control over sensitive data and processes, which is obviously vital, especially in a time of conflict. So they couldn't just grab any off-the-shelf cloud AI service that might send data to who knows where.
Right, makes sense.
Oleksandr Cybort, he's the Chief Digital Transformation Officer and Deputy Minister there, he highlighted that Gemma gave them this, quote, rare balance of strong reasoning and secure on-premise deployment. It was just a perfect fit for their very specific requirements.
So they built this on-premise system, basically a local AI brain within their own secure walls. How does that actually streamline things? And can you quickly unpack terms like Gemma 3.27b and CAN 2.57 BVL for us? What does that tech speak mean?
Sure. So essentially, their solution uses Quen 2.57b VL first. That part extracts text data from scanned documents. The VL there stands for vision language, meaning it can understand both the text and the visual layout of those scanned documents, which is really important for processing official paperwork accurately.
Ah, okay. Not just reading words, but understanding the form.
Exactly. Then Google's Gemma 327D analyzes that extracted information, cross-referencing it with various government registries. The 27B in Gemma 327B, that refers to billions of parameters, basically, a measure of the model's scale and complexity, how much information it's learned, hinting at its pretty sophisticated reasoning abilities.
Got it. Big brain.
Kind of, yeah. So this powerful AI then recommends a decision to the human official, issue the license, reject the application, or flag it for further manual review if it's a complex case.
It doesn't make the final call.
No, it recommends. But this dramatically cuts processing time for things like veterinarian licenses, reduces rejection rates because it catches errors early, and significantly lightens the workload for government officials, frees them up for the trickier stuff. And what's particularly important, as you mentioned, is transparency. Gemma's decisions are auditable. All inputs, outputs, the rules applied, it's all logged for continuous improvement and verification. ensures accountability.
That's a really powerful example of AI solving a practical problem efficiently and securely. And it's not just specific country initiatives like this, right? We're also seeing major AI companies like OpenAI forming partnerships to boost government efficiency in multiple nations, suggests a much broader global embrace.
Indeed, OpenAI is actively engaging with governments globally. It shows a clear commitment to integrating their advanced AI models into public service in, well, a range of contexts and across different levels of government.
Let's start with the U.S. federal government. They've partnered with the GSA, the General Services Administration, to offer ChatGPT Enterprise to the entire federal executive branch workforce. And get this, for a nominal cost of just $1 per agency for a year.
Wow.
That's basically giving universal access to these leading AI models for a massive workforce.
And what's really noteworthy here is the objective behind it. This effort aligns with the Trump administration's AI action plan, aiming to enable government workers to, quote, spend less time on red tape and paperwork and more time doing what they came to public service to do, serve the American people.
Makes sense. Cut the bureaucracy.
And it's not just theoretical. Pilot successes have shown real, tangible results. For example, features like deep research allow users to quickly synthesize huge amounts of information. And advanced voice mode could really revolutionize how government employees interact with data, maybe letting them query complex databases just by speaking.
Can you give us a concrete example of those results you mentioned, like actual time saved?
Certainly. In Pennsylvania, employees using ChatGPT Enterprise saved, on average, about 95 minutes per day on routine tasks.
95 minutes a day per person.
Imagine that scaled across the entire federal workforce. That's a tremendous amount of reclaimed time and productivity. And in North Carolina, another pilot, 85% of participants reported a positive experience.
That's significant buy-in.
It is. And OpenAI is also providing extensive support, universal access to advanced features, at least initially, educational tools, training through the OpenAI Academy, and really crucial security and compliance assurances. Specifically, that no business data from the agencies is used for model training. That directly addresses a huge concern for governments handling sensitive confidential information.
Okay, moving across the Atlantic, the UK government has also forged a strategic partnership with OpenAI. This sounds like it's maybe about more than just software licenses for individual government workers.
It is. This new strategic partnership aims to be much broader. It's focused on expanding AI security research collaborations, exploring significant investment in UK AI infrastructure, things like data centers, and finding ways for taxpayer-funded services like security, education, justice, defense to use the latest tech efficiently.
So embedding it more deeply.
Seems like it. Technology Secretary Peter Kyle stated AI will be fundamental in driving the change we need to see across the country. And Sam Altman, OpenAI's CEO, called AI a core technology for nation building. So this partnership hints at a vision where AI is integrated at a more foundational level, not just at the user interface.
And are they already putting this into practice within the UK government? Any specific examples?
Yes, they are. OpenAI's ChatGPT already underpins Humphrey. Yeah, Humphrey. It's Whitehall's AI assistant aimed at reducing administrative burdens in the civil service. More specifically, they're using GPT-4o in a bespoke tool called Consult. Its job is to speed up policymaking by sorting through massive volumes of public consultation responses.
Ah, that makes sense. That must take ages manually.
Exactly. A task that traditionally takes human officials weeks, apparently now being done in minutes. It allows policymakers to quickly grasp public sentiment, data trends, while still leaving the really important, nuanced decisions to the human experts, of course.
And finally, a very symbolic partnership for OpenAI seems to be with Greece, tying into its, historical roots in education.
That's right. Greece and OpenAI signed a memorandum of understanding. The goal is to broaden access to AI tools in secondary education, specifically using ChatGPT Edu, which is a version designed for academic institutions.
So getting AI into schools nationally.
Yeah, it makes Greece one of the first countries to implement it on a national scale like that. And beyond education, the agreement also aims to foster innovation among small businesses. Greek startups focusing on critical areas like healthcare, climate change, education, public sectors, they'll gain crucial access to OpenAI's tech and credits. Gives them a significant boost. Chris Lethane, OpenAI's Chief Global Affairs Officer, he highlighted Greece as the historical birthplace of Western education, noting its continued dedication to learning and its potential to be a leader in this new AI era. It really showcases the multifaceted ways AI is being integrated from core governance to national development, right down to the foundational education system.
The unseen pitfalls, challenges, and risks of AI in government.
Okay, so all this innovation, all this promise we discussed, it sounds incredible. But, as with any really powerful technology, there got to be significant shadows, potential pitfalls. What are the critical risks we absolutely need to be thinking of when governments start relying on AI to run vital public services, make crucial decisions?
This brings up a really important question, and honestly, it often comes right back down to what is this AI actually learning from?
Right, the input.
Exactly. The sources really highlight that its fundamental reliance on data is, well, it's a double-edged sword, and its inherent design can unintentionally lead to some pretty unexpected vulnerabilities. When we're talking about AI making decisions that affect citizens' lives or national security or how public money is spent, the integrity, the purity of its information becomes absolutely paramount. There's just no room for error there.
You mentioned data as a foundational issue. So one of the biggest problems is simply the quality and maybe the inherent biases of the data AI gets trained on, especially when a lot of that data comes from the vast, pretty unfiltered expanse of the internet.
Exactly. AI's heavy dependence on these massive data sets, often just scraped indiscriminately from the internet, is a foundational risk. We really can't overstate it. The internet, I mean, it's a treasure trove of information, sure, but it's also, as one source put it, inherently untrustworthy for high-stakes applications, like government decision-making.
A digital Wild West, you called it earlier.
Pretty much. It's plagued by stuff that's just plain wrong, missing information, or even deliberately misleading content. Think about social media, user-generated sites. They often amplify misinformation, viral falsehoods, emotionally charged narratives, all without rigorous fact-checking or much editorial oversight. It creates this digital ecosystem that's just ripe for manipulation and error.
And if the AI learns from that flawed or biased data, then its outputs, its decisions, they're going to be flawed and biased too, right? It's that classic saying, garbage in, garbage out.
Precisely. When AI models are trained on that kind of data, they just inherit these imperfections, these biases,
Yeah.
and that leads directly to outputs that are inherently biased or simply erroneous. The consequences for government can be severe, far-reaching.
Like what kind of consequences?
Well, it could manifest in flawed resource allocation AI systems, misdirecting funding or services based on distorted ideas of population needs. It could lead to discriminatory practices, say, if an AI is used for public sector hiring and its training data reflects historical biases in employment. Well, it could unwittingly just perpetuate those biases, favoring certain groups over others without anyone realizing why.
Oof. Yeah.
Or it could lead to skewed policy recommendations based on incomplete, distorted, or just plain false information, impacting millions of lives. Decisions affecting entire populations could end up being based on data that lacks any real verifiability, potentially contradicting official records, scientific consensus, or even deeply held cultural sensitivities. Governments, more than anyone, really cannot afford to base national strategies or critical public services on such fundamentally unreliable information.
Okay, so beyond just accidentally bad data, there's also the more insidious and deliberate threat of manipulation, something called data poisoning. This sounds like an active attack, not just bad luck.
It is, and this is a particularly concerning, really sophisticated risk for governmental AI systems. Data poisoning is a deliberate attack where adversaries, whoever they might be, inject malicious information into training data sets to corrupt the model's behavior.
Inject malicious info. How?
It could be subtle, maybe slightly altering data sets before they're ingested or flooding online sources with specific misinformation knowing it'll likely get scraped up. It's devastating because it can alter AI outputs without anyone noticing immediately, compromising critical government systems without anyone realizing until maybe it's far too late. It's like a slow-acting, undetectable poison, essentially.
Wow. What kind of catastrophic impact could that have on, say, national security or just public trust in government?
The potential impact is immense. Think about national security tools. If they're trained on poison data, they might misclassify threats, maybe ignore genuine dangers, or conversely, amplify unfounded fears, leading to misguided policies, wasted resources, maybe even triggering international incidents based on false AI alarms.
Scary stuff.
Or think about public Q&A systems. Lots of governments are adopting these for citizen services. If those systems start disseminating tainted or subtly altered information because of data poisoning, it could quickly and profoundly erode public trust in government institutions, lead to widespread confusion, cynicism.
Yeah, trust is fragile.
Absolutely. Even financial or healthcare decisions. If they're guided by poisoned AI, they could be compromised, resulting in inaccurate risk assessments, big economic losses, or even endangering lives through incorrect diagnoses or treatment plans recommended by a corrupted AI.
So the silent nature of it is what makes it so dangerous.
Exactly. A foreign entity, maybe a domestic group, could influence critical outcomes indirectly without immediate accountability. And web-scale data, because it's scraped from everywhere, is particularly susceptible. Attackers can just flood online sources with false narratives, knowing they'll eventually get hoovered up into AI training sets, creating this kind of ticking time bomb inside the system.
And it's not just like future or current information that can be messed with. Historical records, which I assume are often used to train these AIs too, they also carry inherent biases and different interpretations, right? History isn't always agreed upon.
Exactly. The subjective, often contested nature of historical data presents another really profound risk, especially for AI systems intended for things like policy, diplomacy, or education. Country histories are, as one source put it, rarely black and white, but shaped by perspectives, by the victors, and by ongoing narratives. This leads to conflicting accounts online all the time.
Sure. Different countries tell the same story very differently.
Right. Different nations often portray the same events through lenses colored by national pride, political propaganda, historical revisionism. An AI trained on, say, a general internet archive of historical texts could easily just internalize and then perpetuate these very biases without any critical filter.
So an AI learning from that kind of history would just replicate those biases, maybe even amplify them. And that could potentially affect how a government approaches international relations, or even how it teaches its own citizens about the past.
Precisely. If AI is trained on that kind of data, it can absolutely perpetuate these biases, affecting governmental tools for education, diplomacy, cultural policy. An AI analyzing historical treaties, for instance, might inadvertently favor dominant national narratives, potentially skewing advice on international relations, or even influencing how current border disputes are perceived. Elon Musk actually made a pretty astute observation about this regarding Wikipedia, which we know is a common data source for AI. He quipped once something like, "History is written by the victors." Well, yes, but not if your enemies are still alive and have a lot of time on their hands to edit Wikipedia.
Ah, that's a powerful and, yeah, rather unsettling point. It means that the losers, or opposing sides in historical conflicts, can actively work to reshape history online, injecting their own biases.
Exactly. They can harness maybe vast numbers of editors or even automated bots to inject subtle biases into online accounts. Biases that AI then absorbs and crucially amplifies because it sees them as prevalent.
Right, it just sees the pattern.
Yeah. In a governmental context, this could lead to decisions based on distorted facts in really critical areas, like ongoing border disputes, maybe reparations claims, even the design of national identity campaigns. Incomplete or intentionally edited histories could inform AI-driven simulations or recommendations, potentially causing real-world diplomatic harm or internal societal divisions. The AI, just pursuing pattern recognition, might simply validate the most prevalent or perhaps the most manipulated narrative it finds.
Okay, so beyond the inherent flaws in the data it eats, are there fundamental challenges with the AI's own ability to, interpret information, to reason, and then act reliably? Even if the data were somehow perfect, could the AI itself still make mistakes?
This raises a really important question about the very nature of these advanced models.
Yeah.
Even impressive AI, trained on vast data sets, can have these fundamental flaws in its reasoning, its predictability, and its sheer common sense understanding of the world.
Common sense is hard for machines.
It really is. Vincent Straub, an Oxford researcher, warns quite starkly that AI models continue to hallucinate and have reliability issues and robustness issues. His conclusion: we can't trust them for critical applications. Not yet, anyway.
Hallucinate. That's such an interesting word for an AI. For our listeners who might not be familiar, what does it actually mean when an AI hallucinates? Does it just, make stuff up out of the blue?
That's a great question. It's not quite random invention. When an AI hallucinates, it generates plausible sounding but entirely false information, often presented with complete confidence.
Oh, so it sounds real but isn't.
Exactly. It's not just making things up randomly, it's synthesizing patterns from its training data in a way that creates a coherent yet factually incorrect output. It might invent citations, fabricate events, misinterpret data in a way that sounds totally convincing if you don't check carefully.
Yikes.
And this is a major concern, particularly for really ambitious projects like the UAE's lawmaking AI we talked about. Such a system could face challenges ranging from becoming inscrutable to its human users, meaning we wouldn't understand why it made a certain decision or proposed a specific law.
The black box problem.
Right.
Right.
To biases caused by its training data, even if they tried to curate it. And there are also these fundamental questions over whether the technology truly interprets laws in the same nuanced way humans do. Understanding the spirit of the law, human emotions, cultural contexts, the complexities of human society and justice. Can an AI really grasp all that?
So it might propose something that makes perfect logical sense to a machine based on its internal rules and data,
Yeah.
but is completely unworkable or even just absurd for actual human beings living in a society.
Exactly. Marina DeVos, a computer scientist at Bath University, she cautions that AI could propose something really, really weird that makes sense to a machine, but may absolutely make no sense to really implement it out there for real in a human society.
Could you give an example of weird?
Well, imagine an AI drafting a law that is logically consistent within its parameters. Maybe it optimizes purely for economic efficiency above all else, but completely disregards human behavior, cultural norms, social equity, or just practical feasibility. The implications for public acceptance, for the rule of law, for democratic accountability, they're immense. This unpredictability, this black box inscrutability, it's a significant barrier to widespread, trusted adoption in the most sensitive government functions.
Navigating the future safeguards, standards, and predictions.
Okay, it's clear the potential for AI in government is enormous, but the risks are equally profound, really complex. So what are governments and AI developers actually doing? Or maybe what should they be doing to ensure these powerful systems are trustworthy, accountable, and ultimately work for the public good? How do we build that necessary bridge of trust?
Well, if we think about the bigger picture, the path forward absolutely requires proactive design, rigorous oversight, and just an unwavering commitment to transparency and ethical deployment. It's really about consciously building trust into the very fabric of these systems right from the start, not just hoping for the best or trying to patch things up after problems inevitably arise.
So what are some of those crucial safeguards, those best practices that are being adopted or maybe urgently need to be adopted? It sounds like we definitely can't just throw all the internet data at an AI and hope it magically becomes this wise, benevolent public servant.
You're absolutely right. That kind of indiscriminate approach is precisely what needs to be avoided for these high-stakes government applications. To mitigate the risks we've discussed, unreliable data, intentional poisoning governments have got to prioritize using curated, verified data sets over just scraping the web blindly.
So quality control on the input.
Exactly. Actively selecting high-quality, reliable, represented information for training, often drawing from official records, expert-validated sources. Beyond that, key strategies have to include implementing robust auditing for biases all the way through the AI lifecycle, from data collection right through to deployment to ensure fairness, prevent discrimination.
How do you audit for bias effectively?
It involves using specific fairness metrics, engaging diverse audit teams, maybe establishing regulatory bodies to oversee these checks. It's also vital to foster international standards for AI transparency, so we can understand not just what these systems decide, but how they arrive at those decisions. And crucially, we have to emphasize continuous human supervision and implement clear guardrails. No AI should operate entirely autonomously in critical governmental functions without a human in the loop overseeing and making the final call.
We saw a really good example of these safeguards being applied in Ukraine's use of Gemma AI for licensing, didn't we? Their approach seemed to really blend that efficiency goal with a very strong security posture.
We did, and Ukraine's approach provides, I think, an exemplary case for implemented robust safeguards. Their legal framework is incredibly strict. All AI systems and public services must operate within a closed infrastructure. No external API calls, no cloud dependencies.
Locking it down.
Exactly. It creates this highly secure, isolated environment. Prevents unauthorized access, prevents data leakage to external servers, a crucial security measure for any sensitive government operation.
Right.
Furthermore, as we discussed, Gemma's decisions aren't black boxes. They are auditable.
Right, the logging.
Yeah, all inputs, outputs, the rules applied meticulously logged.
Yeah.
Allows for continuous human review, system improvement, clear verification of every decision. Alexander Chybort, their CDTO, he emphasized that this balance of strong reasoning and secure on-premise deployment was absolutely key to their success and their confidence in the system. It really is a blueprint for controlled, accountable AI integration.
And what about the big players like OpenAI? How are they addressing these concerns, especially when they're partnering with governments like the US and UK, which obviously handle immense amounts of sensitive data?
Well, OpenAI is making some specific and pretty crucial commitments to address these concerns. For ChatGPT Enterprise, the one offered to the U.S. federal government, they provide explicit security and compliance assurances. They state unequivocally that no business data, meaning inputs or outputs from government agencies, is used to train or improve OpenAI models.
That's huge for confidentiality.
It's fundamental, a core promise for data privacy and security. They're also actively providing dedicated government user communities and tailored training programs through their OpenAI Academy. This underscores that responsible deployment isn't just about the tech itself, but also about educating and empowering the users, helping them understand best practices, limitations, ensuring secure data handling. These measures are designed to instill confidence and ensure the secure, accountable handling of sensitive government information, moving beyond just generic promises to concrete operational assurances.
So, what does all this mean for the future then? As we look ahead, what kind of predictions can we make about AI's trajectory in government? And maybe more importantly, what critical questions should we as citizens really be asking ourselves, asking our leaders?
What's truly compelling here, I think, is just how rapidly this whole landscape is evolving. It's prompting both immense excitement about the possibilities and at the same time crucial, critical debate about the very nature of governance itself. We are truly on the cusp of profound, potentially foundational change in how nations operate.
It certainly feels like it's accelerating at an incredible pace. Prime Minister Rama's swift adoption of an AI minister in Albania, OpenAI's continuous development, like the launch of GPT-5 mentioned in our sources, it just underscores how quickly the technology is advancing, often beyond initial expectations. It feels like a relentless march forward.
Absolutely. And this accelerating pace also brings into sharp focus the different approaches to adoption across the global political spectrum. Keegan McBride, from the Oxford Internet Institute, he notes that autocratic states, like the UAE perhaps, may have an easier time embracing this kind of sweeping government digitalization and AI integration.
Why easier?
Less red tape.
Essentially, they can potentially move fast and experiment with things more readily than democratic nations, which often have more layers of public debate, legislative oversight, privacy concerns, robust citizen engagement, all things that naturally slow down such profound changes.
Right, checks and balances take time.
Exactly. This divergence could lead to a significant gap in how quickly and how radically AI gets integrated into governance across different political systems, potentially creating new geopolitical dynamics based on who adopts fastest.
That's a really significant point. And the role of AI itself seems to be continuously evolving too, moving from what we might have called a mere assistant just a short while ago to something far more proactive, more influential. Precisely. We're witnessing a clear and rapid shift in AI's perceived and actual role. Initially, AI was often seen as an assistant or a tool good for categorizing documents, drafting basic responses, analyzing data for human decision makers.
Right. Helper bot.
Kind of. But now, as we saw with the UAE's ambition to have AI actively write and amend laws, it's potentially becoming a predictor or an anticipator of legal changes, analyzing vast data sets to not just summarize, but to suggest future modifications to entire legal frameworks. That represents a huge qualitative leap in its influence, moving it much closer to being a co-creator, maybe even an independent agent in governance.
And alongside that, there's this emerging, very strategic concept of sovereign AI, which
Right.
sounds like countries wanting to develop and control their own national AI capabilities, almost like digital independence.
Yes, it's a critical and rapidly growing trend. It really highlights the geopolitical importance nations are now placing on AI. The UK, for instance, investing up to $500 million in sovereign AI. Partnering with companies like OpenAI, yes, but specifically to develop frontier AI models and infrastructure within the UK itself.
Keeping it local.
Exactly. They're exploring establishing AI growth zones to attract investment, foster domestic capabilities. This isn't just about having the latest tech. It's about ensuring that a nation's most sensitive data and critical governmental functions aren't reliant on models, infrastructure, and cloud services controlled by other nations, protecting against both economic and national security vulnerabilities.
Makes sense, like controlling your own energy supply.
Very similar analogy. And similarly, Ukraine is actively developing its own national Ukrainian large language model, an LLM. That signals a powerful move towards greater technological independence and control over their sensitive governmental AI systems. It complements their strict on-premise deployment rules. This desire for sovereign AI really underscores that AI is now viewed not just as a tool, but as a new form of critical national infrastructure, almost like power grids or water supplies.
This brings us to some really important questions for you, our listener, to maybe mull over, because ultimately, these aren't just technical debates happening in government labs somewhere. They're really about the kind of societies we want to build and how you will interact with them in the future.
Indeed. First off, as we embrace AI, how do we effectively balance that allure of AI-driven efficiency with the essential principles of accountability, transparency, democratic participation? Where do we draw the line when an algorithm promises to be faster and cheaper, but potentially less understandable, maybe less responsive to actual human needs?
Then there's that incredibly complex question of accountability itself. Who truly bears responsibility legally, morally, when an AI system makes a decision in government that has real-world consequences for citizens? Maybe denying a crucial benefit, misallocating funds, even influencing a judicial outcome. If Diella makes a procurement decision that goes wrong, or an AI drafts a problematic law, who is ultimately responsible for the fallout? Is it the programmer? The minister who deployed it? The AI itself?
It's a thorny question, and looking at the root causes of many of these risks, can we ever truly build incorruptible or unbiased governmental AI systems? Or are human flaws, whether through biased historical data we feed it or imperfect design choices we make, are they simply destined to be embedded into the code no matter how hard we try to cleanse them? This really touches on the fundamental nature of AI learning from human-generated data and the inherent subjectivity of our world.
And finally, what are the long-term implications for your citizen privacy, for public trust generally, and for civic engagement in a world where AI is increasingly integrated into the very fabric of how we're governed? How much of our personal data are we truly comfortable sharing for the sake of governmental efficiency? And what happens to our voice, our democratic say, if critical decisions are increasingly made or at least heavily shaped by machines operating behind these opaque algorithms? Just imagine for a second a world where algorithms draft all our laws or manage all public funds without direct human intervention, just like Albania is aiming for with procurement. What kind of society would that actually create for you? And crucially, how would you want to be involved in shaping it and holding it accountable? Outro. So as we bring our discussion to a close today, it's just abundantly clear that artificial intelligence presents governments really all over the world with both this incredible opportunity for transformation and, at the same time, a really complex, challenging web of potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
From virtual ministers designed to combat corruption in Albania, to AI-driven lawmaking in the UAE, and from ensuring efficient, secure licensing in Ukraine, to widespread governmental adoption in places like the US and UK, the future of governance is, well, it's undoubtedly deeply intertwined with AI.
We've examined how AI promises this unprecedented efficiency, maybe objectivity, a whole new era of public service. Here, we've also shown a light on some profound risks. Risks related to unreliable training data, that insidious threat of malicious data poisoning, and just the inherent subjectivity and unpredictability that can creep into even the most sophisticated algorithms.
Yeah.
The journey ahead, it demands not just technological advancement, but really careful consideration, robust safeguards, and a continuous transparent dialogue about the ethical deployment and the essential human oversight of these incredibly powerful tools.
And this isn't just some story about distant governments and abstract technology, is it? It's really about the future of public services, the bedrock of public trust, and the very structure of the societies we all live in. We sincerely hope this exploration has given you a clearer picture of this rapidly evolving landscape and maybe sparked some truly thought-provoking questions about what's coming next. We've seen how some countries are embracing AI with these audacious, almost futuristic goals, while others are prioritizing really secure, auditable implementation within strict national frameworks. As AI becomes increasingly integrated into the very fabric of our governance, maybe consider this. How much human oversight is truly enough when an AI is designed to be, quote, 100% incorruptible, like Albania's vision for Diella? And what happens to public trust if even a tiny sliver of that trust is broken by a flaw in the data or an unexpected algorithmic error? What role do we as citizens play in shaping these digital governments of tomorrow? And what kind of relationship do we actually want with the algorithms that are increasingly being designed to serve us?